everyone. This is Kara from the St. Joseph County Public Library, and I'm here again with my dog Sophie for another adult storytelling. The tale I'm going to read is from Fearless Girls, Wise Women, and Beloved Sisters, and it's an old Irish tale called The Corpse Watchers. So let's begin. Once there was an old woman who lived with her 3 daughters. And one day her eldest came to her and said, "Mother, bake me a cake and kill me a chicken, for I'm going to seek my fortune." So her mother went out and she baked her cake and she killed her chicken. And when she was all done, she brought it to her eldest and said, "You may have half of this and my blessing, or all of it and my curse." "The whole is little enough," said the eldest. So she took it and she went off. And if she didn't have her mother's curse, then she didn't have her blessing either. She walked down the road until the sun began to set, and then she sat under a tall tree and began to eat her meal. As she was doing this, an old beggar woman appeared from between the trees, and she asked if she could have a little bit. "The dickens you'll get from me," she said, and the old woman went away very sorrowful. At night, the eldest daughter came to an inn where she got lodging. And the innkeeper's wife told her that she would give her a spadeful of gold and a shovelful of silver if she would sit in the next room all night and watch her son's corpse. So she agreed, and when the family went to bed, she sat by the fireside, every once in a while casting an eye towards the corpse under the table. When the clock struck midnight, he got up in his shroud, and he said, "All alone, fair maid?" The girl was so frightened that she couldn't even speak. So he said again, "All alone, fair maid?" Still she said nothing. When he tried a third time, and she still said nothing, he had no choice but to whack her with a stick and turn her into a stone. Then he went back under the table and became still once more. A week passed, and the middle daughter decided that she would go out to seek her fortune. And she didn't care for her mother's blessing nor her sister. So the same thing happened to her. Then a little bit of more time passed, and the youngest daughter went out, not in search of her fortune, but her 2 missing sisters. And she took her mother's blessing with her. She shared her meal with the old beggar woman on the road, and so the old woman told her that she would watch over her. When she came to the inn, she agreed to watch the corpse, and she sat by the fire with playing with some nuts and apples that the innkeeper's wife had given her, as well as with the dog and the cat. At midnight, the corpse stood up in his shroud, and he said, "All alone, fair maid?" And she wasn't long in her reply. She said, "All alone I am not. I've my little dog Douse, and Pussy my cat. I've got apples to roast and nuts to crack. All alone I am not." "Oh-ho," said the corpse. "You are a girl of courage, but I don't think you'll have enough courage to follow me. I am to go across the quaking bog and through the burning forest and the cave of horrors. Then I am to come to the glass mountain, which I must climb up and then dive into the sea." "I'll go with you," said the girl, "for I promised your mother I'd keep an eye on you." And so he flew out the window and she jumped after him. They came to rolling green hills, where he said, "Open, open, green hills, and let your light shine through." And the youngest daughter said, "Aye, and let the fair maid too." And so the green hills opened for them, and they found themselves standing at the edge of the quaking bog. He went over easily. But as she was trying to figure out how she would get across, the old beggar woman appeared to her once more, although she was much more nicely dressed. She took a stick and she tapped it against the girl's shoes, which widened a foot on each side so that she could get easily over the marsh. Then they were at the burning forests, and the good fairy appeared to her once more and wrapped her in a wet cloak, so that she could walk through the forest and not a hair on her head was singed. Then they came to the cave of horrors, where the good fairy gave her wax to put in her ears so she wouldn't hear the terrible screams, although she felt the ooze on the walls and the sharp rocks and the slimy backs of snakes and toads. When they got out, they were at the glass mountain. The good fairy tapped the girl's shoes to make them sticky on the bottom so that she could climb up. And when they got to the top, the corpse turned to her and he said, "Go back and tell my mother how far you came to do her bidding. Farewell." And without another word, he dived straight into the sea. And the girl dived after him. She was so stupefied at first that she could hardly think, but as they dived deeper, she saw a warm green light. Then suddenly she was lying in a green field, looking up at a blue sky and lying beside the young man. She began to feel sleepy, and when she opened her eyes again, she found herself lying in his bed in his room with his mother and himself by her side. They told her that he had been cursed by a witch who had taken a liking to him, and when he refused to marry her, she had gotten the power to keep him in a state between life and death. Only a girl could rescue him by doing what she had just done. At her request, both of her sisters were turned from rocks and back into their human forms and sent home with their spades full of gold and shovels full of silver, although if they were much better for it, I cannot say. As for the youngest daughter, she got the young man for her husband, and I very much dare to say that they deserved each other. The end.